Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Rail Live 2025. Welcome to the Engineering Theatre. This is the thing I've been saying for every session, but I get to say thanks to Pandrol and look at them. No, thank you very much to Pandrol for supporting the Engineering Theatre this year as they did last year. And I'm delighted to say that we are joined by Pandrol today. We have Chris McKeown who joins us, who is, well, you're the welding guru is perhaps one way to describe you. We're going to be talking about i+weld, i+align, the whole i+ suite that Pandrol have developed, and kind of firstly, what that is. Secondly, why is the market need it? How have you worked out, right, this is a gap, we're going to jump in there and sort something out that's very clever. Before I yak on, though, I think maybe, give a little bit of an introduction. I'll let you grab the slides and give us a little bit of an introduction about i+weld and a bit of that context.
Okay, so I'm in charge of the operations of Pandrol for welding in the UK, and I'm an ex-track welder, so I've had a large input in what we could do better as a business moving forward. And discussing with Network Rail colleagues in the past, it was I've worked in several locations around the world, and everyone does something different. And because I've had that benefit of moving around, I've been able, we can use that here, and we can. After speaking with Network Rail, which was a very closed door initially, there was like, no, you're not changing anything. And then eventually they came to us and said, blue sky thinking.
Eventually you'll get them.
Blue sky thinking, yeah. So and then it just kind of went from there, really. And then you kind of fast forward 10 years from that initial conversation, and we are here now with i+weld.
So tell us a bit about it. So we've got some interesting bits and pieces. I'll let you push. Let's go. So tell us a bit about the purpose and a bit behind it.
So you can't really change aluminothermic welding, not the fundamentals. But what we have done, we've tried to change everything around the actual weld itself. And whenever we've done what, we've been looking at the performance, we've been looking at time saving, which is obviously one of the big key points on the network. Making sure that the user actually likes what we're pushing forward, increasing safety and weld conformity. So we've always tried to incorporate all these ideas into a very basic aluminothermic weld. So if you just click to the next slide, what we have there is this is kind of like a life cycle of weld. Every single weld, we go through the alignment, you put the molds on, you heat it, ignite it, and cool. And it's repeat all the time. Our first point of call was the alignment, and we've been working on this for some time, but it was quite an engineering challenge for us. So we've done lots of things at the same time.
So for clarity on this, when you're putting a weld together, you have either you've got two rail ends or you've just cut a hole and you're doing some stress. You've got a gap between two rails. But a key challenge at any joint is dipping and making sure that you've got so i+align is part of making sure that the process of getting that alignment right is done really accurately, because if you get that wrong, you've started badly with your weld, right?
Absolutely, and the accuracy there, it takes time, effort, and skill. And I like to refer it to like a bricklayer. Okay, you see a bricklayer building a house and he's throwing the bricks on. He makes it look very simple, and you think, I can do that. And you build your own wall, and it's falling over. It's the same with this. You see the welders in track, and they're banging the wedges, and you think, yeah, I can do that. If you've ever had a go, you're like, wow, that was really difficult. It takes time to get it right. Even when you're a very skilled welder with years of experience, you can still, in track, it can take you anywhere between 15 minutes to 25 minutes to align a weld.
Oh, wow.
Our alignment system, if you click on to the next slide,
fast forward.
this system, which is what we're demonstrating today at 2 o'clock, this system can be used by one person, clip it onto the rail, put all the measurement devices on, and we're looking at a complete alignment within 3 to 4 minutes with one person. That's where this is.
That's spectacular. So you're saying actually alignment is the majority of the time to set, or a sizable chunk of the time to set, and so get that right, thin that in, and you. And again, the key thing to point out with this is, there are hundreds of thousands, probably millions of welds out on the network in terms of the number of welds we have out there, and so if you're out on a shift and you've got 40, 50 welds to do over a big renewal, or even if you're just going in for a quick maintenance job to start, every bloody minute counts.
Absolutely.
So like here, you're talking about a massive saving.
It's a huge
saving.
Huge time saving, huge time saving. And the exciting bit as well is that's in today's methods as well. So you can apply that straight in today's method and you're going to save a chunk of time. The exciting bit is you don't need to keep to the existing method. There are things we can change now, and it gives us the scope to look forward and think, actually, we can do things differently now. We can prepare a site before the welding crews get there.
Okay, yeah.
All of a sudden, your output just increases.
So if you like, for the nerdy project managers out there, your Gantt chart, you start to be able to stack resources rather than like a single line, which obviously stretches out.
Yeah,
nice one.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is a video of the alignment system actually working. For if you can't come down at 2 o'clock, this is pretty much what you're going to see. But you get to see it, in person. And these alignment systems just clip onto the rail, very easy. There's got a couple of actuators which clip onto the rail, which you'll see in a moment.
Yeah, so there we go.
Down the bottom right-hand corner, what you'll see is a real-time counter. So far, from the start, it's taken 50 seconds. This is a real-time counter. The real-time counter is slightly sped up, and it will speed up even more so. But this is a complete alignment of the joint from start to finish. And in today's methods, you're looking at around about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, depending on the skill level of the welder.
Yeah.
So we've put some alignment devices on with lots of sensors, and we press go on our application. And you'll see down the bottom corner, we're at 2 minutes 20. The Pandrol Connect application is connecting with all this equipment, telling it what to do.
I was going to say, you've just locked that into the fast clip housing,
it just
right?
hooks in.
So this is the systemic thinking piece, which is really useful about what you offer. Is like, oh yeah, that's also, by the way, that housing is ours. And so you clip into the existing housing. You've then got your nice, neat fit. And that rail, by the look of it, the rail is being, I know I've just talked over your video. The rail is being naturally like shifted by the system into alignment with the system. That's really clever. Sorry, I did talk over that, but
no,
that's
like
but yeah, see the app there pointing out. You've got you've got a hard device, and you've got.
I don't know if you can see the measurements on there, but you've got on the peak, you are within 0.03 of a millimeter.
Nice.
On there.
Okay, that's
fantastically
that's nice,
accurate. Yeah.
And again, 3 minutes. What was that? 2:57.
2:57. Yeah.
That's really good. So.
And then all of that data is all controlled by our application. It's also logged, it's real time, and our application also logs every other step of the weld as well. So it's
does that mean you're getting your weld, so every weld has to be certified, so it means the data's going into, you basically almost, so you're basically looking at, you're basically auto-filling in that certification essentially. So again, accelerating that process.
You get a lot more traceability that way as well. You can record the accuracy, and the good thing about this is we give access on Pandrol Connect to the contractors, we give it to the site managers, and so everybody can input into the weld. And it even comes down to the network owner if they want access to that data. Okay. So anyone can input into this data.
And get hold of it. Fantastic. Yeah, okay. So let's talk about iSeal. So we're working our way around to the next step. We've got the alignment right, but the weld still doesn't exist yet. So iSeal.
Okay, so i+seal, this is just a very user-friendly and again, to speed up the welding process. So today's traditional method is if you've ever seen a weld on track, you'll see the welders that are bent down on their knees, they're grabbing sand and they're doing this operation called luting, and they're packing the sand around the welds. It's a manual operation. It's not a very nice thing to do, especially when it's freezing cold. You have to get sand out of the van, it's freezing cold, or try and defrost the paste and stuff. It's a very labor-intensive thing to do for 10 to 15 minutes, on your knees in the freezing cold in the ballast. i+seal does away with that. You just put the molds on and you walk away. It's very simple. And the seal expands with heat. So the heating process, which is pretty much next, that is what activates the seal and completely seals the mold in.
Okay. Fantastic. So again, this is it. You've gone, right, split it out, save time here, save time here, save time here, thinking about the whole. So then we get to i+heat.
i+heat, now this is aimed at pure quality. One of the biggest defects throughout the world, this is not just UK, throughout the world, is preheating defects. When you mix oxygen and propane, which is probably the world leader in terms of what people do to preheat the weld, you generate temperatures of around about 2,400 degrees on the oxygen propane flame. That, if you put it in wrong in the weld, you can burn the mold, you can burn the rail end, you end up with lots of inclusions, etc. Lots of other defects originating from the preheat. We recognise that, and we've said, yeah, you know what, we can do better than that. So we've developed a preheating system that runs on two 18-volt batteries. So it's just plug-and-play batteries. Okay, you plug it into a propane source, so it's just normal propane cylinder, and you turn it on and you press start. It does everything else for you. It lights itself, it times itself, and it shuts itself off. And at the end of that, you get a beautifully balanced preheat, defect-free.
Yeah, that's the key. Like we're getting into the fun metallurgy stuff, and we have to be very careful not to get lost in having too much fun talking about metallurgy. But yeah, the managing the rail end, as you say, is a key part. As we say, if you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of welds, the quality of those welds is absolutely key in the overall asset, because those are naturally weak points. The weld material itself is the strongest part of the weld. The rails either side are the weak point, and so making sure that is anything you can do to improve, to get the quality up is positive, and this preheating helps towards that.
It's huge, yeah, it's massive. And we've just started getting these out on the industry, and the feedback we're having, you know, some of the welders are a little bit reluctant initially. They're like, oh, it's a new bit of kit, but as soon as they've started using it, like, wow.
Nice.
That's
okay,
great.
So that, so I definitely want to pick into that. So before we talk about how the uptake, I wanted to take the chance, which firstly, I think that pretty much covers the deck. So we'll pop the generic holding slide on in a second, I'm sure. What I want to talk about is the process. It's a really nice whole complete solution. You've looked at the whole process, picked out things that you can't change, but everything that you can change, you have. Firstly, how long has this been in development? Or would you say this is actually a natural progression of what you're doing? And what has that story kind of looked like?
It's been a natural progression. Okay. So, as I say, when I first approached Network Rail about, look, we can improve things, and it was like, no, okay. And then they came back to me a year or so later saying, okay, you know what, we've listened. Blue sky thinking, what can you do? I says, leave it with us. And so I discussed it with our product line, our technical engineers, and said, look, let's look at it. What can we do? And so we picked a product which was actually the i+ seal initially. So we said, this, we could improve this. We thought maybe we can improve alignment, and so it was just a case of pick something.
So there's an element of organic growth of actually we can start applying some of the sort of the thinking behind it to some of the. Okay,
it was like, and I remember a very traditional way of starting some of these projects. It was me and one of the R&D guys having a beer, sitting in a pub, and was like, well, what about this? And that kind of started really, 10 years ago.
This is partly why it's important that you guys support the engineering theatre, but also generally Rail Live. It's like those sorts of conversations where two people go, oh yeah, we were thinking about it. Can I attach this to your machine, or can I do? It's those sorts of organic conversations. So I suppose the thing I'm shouting is Rail Live is where these opportunities for innovation often come about. So it's really, it's good that all of you are here and attending this. So you had that conversation, your scribble on the back of a beer mat type arrangement.
Absolutely, yeah.
What then happens? Because there's a long distance to go from that to prototyping, and then the development process, the testing process. What did that look like?
Challenging.
Okay. One word, challenging.
Especially with the i+ seal, because people have always, kind of, this is what we want. We don't know how to get there. Yep. And so it was a lot of trial and error, and it was a lot more error more than anything else.
Lots of things on fire on their side.
Yeah, is this really going to happen? And then all of a sudden it's, it just kind of clicks. And then as soon as you've got a bit of a method that works, you kind of keep chipping away at that little part. And with how I've worked with our guys in France, they've said, okay, well, we've done this. Do you want to try this? And it was just a case of, okay, but we need to improve this. And it's been that a collaboration between us. And I suppose with my history of being a track welder, I knew exactly what I was looking for, implementing it, on track.
Yeah. So what's interesting there is maybe it'd be quite interesting to have a little bit on the international element of this, because it's not just this is a full Pandrol international organisation.
Sure.
How's that look? Where's that knowledge sharing? Does that mean there's some physical development going on in France? What's that kind of look like in terms of that international element and story?
So for the i+ welding stuff and any of our welding products, it's all actually manufactured in northern France. Okay. So I'm over at the factory quite often. Rory's in Teams chats with all of our colleagues over there. It's really good working relationship, really good banter. It's a very healthy, good environment. And with that, I think you want to work with each other. So you kind of just push that little bit harder, and you're like, we can do this together. And it's that collaborative approach, which I think has made it really what it is today, actually, And that now is starting to push out further out wide. So I have some colleagues in Australia, and they're like, let's get this I+, and some of the work that we've done here is now which France has ultimately put all together. They're now shipping it over to the States, over to Australia, and multiple different other nations.
So this is what I wanted to pick up next, actually, and you touched on it earlier. What's the pickup like? So you've got this product, it's a fantastic product, as I say, demonstration at 2, so everyone should go and see I+ Align in action. But what does, what's the interest, is everyone running to pick it up, or has it been a bit of, you got a bit of demonstration work to get that momentum? How's that looking?
We're having to fight them back with a big stick.
Oh, good.
No, it's, the version I've got today is a prototype version. We're actually just having our trial units made as we speak. I hope to actually start trials July, August. So we've not actually got any of the alignment system out the door, but we do have the other products. So the I+ Seal, we've done tens of thousands of those in track already. The I+ Heat, what's on the screen just there, that unit there is being sold worldwide now as well.
Okay, so in a way, you've got the whole solution, but actually people can pick and choose the things that they feel like they're ready to. Nice one. Yeah. Okay.
We've said that this is the package, and the idea of everything is that they have the whole range, and that everything connects with Pandrol Connect, and all traceable, etc. But you can also select what you want out of that as well. It doesn't need to be, well, I have everything. It's not, you don't need that. It's a mix and match.
So this is a key thing. And last year, the Pandrol session we had last year, one of the things I was pulling out was like how SMEs, how some of the, even the sort of slightly larger enterprises push that development. One of the interesting things that came out in that conversation, and clearly what you're saying there is, you are listening to what your customer is, you're being flexible to what the customer is interested in doing. So you'll have some customers who are like, yep, whole package, great, we'll just pick up the whole thing. Others where you're saying, actually, we've got the funding for or have identified this is a problem, and therefore we just want this bit of the solution.
Absolutely.
It sounds like you've absolutely...
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So to what extent have you had customers involved in, it sounds like extensively, but have you had customers involved in that development process a bit? You like speaking to them and understanding, or is it more a case of you've got these long-standing relationships, so you're kind of able to understand what that need is and push the development that?
We generally have those conversations early on.
Yeah, okay, yep.
So for example, the alignment device, there was one of the senior technical people within Network Rail knew very early on. I said, look, this is what we're doing. What do you think? Do you think it could have traction? And once we, gave him a rough idea of what we wanted, he was like, absolutely, run with it. Let's keep talking. So, and it's been very positive from that side. With us having that discussions early on, it's been very collaborative as well. So they're asking how it's going, they're giving us feedback, and
nice.
So it's been good.
So again, those early relationships and building on those and understanding what your customer base are actually interested in and need and what their problems are is a key part of that development process.
It's analysing what the customers actually need. What do they need right now?
Yeah. So again, that advice to all of you out there in SME land or generally in product, if you're holding a product or you're holding an idea for a product, Rail Live is where to go. Go and speak to your customers, understand what they need. Don't go off bang too soon without understanding what they need. I wanted to have a chance to just, if there are any questions in the room, actually, pick up. We've gone through a pretty wide. I think we were very well behaved. We didn't get too much into the nuts and bolts there, as we definitely could have. Have we got any questions out in stunned silence? Everyone wants to see some sparks and explosions. And I'd say if you're keen for that, then where you need to head is over the other end at the Pandrol, the Perspex box where you can,
absolutely. We're doing a demonstration in just over 20 minutes time.
Very shortly,
and that's the full range.
So I suppose to round up, what I'd say is what's next. So you've kind of reached the point where you've now got this sort of suite, this solution. Where does it go next? Where obviously you're rolling it out, but actually I'd say you never stand still with this stuff. You're always going, well, what's the next thing we're going to do?
Absolutely. And there's actually one item which wasn't on the presentation. And coming back to the customer needs part, I was just actually having a chat to one of the Network Rail colleagues, and he said, we're a little bit short on time, etc. And I was like, well, here you go. And we'd already had these conversations in the past, these items can save a huge chunk of time, and we've actually got a cooling device, which again we'll show at the the demonstration. But again, every single piece of equipment we're bringing out, time, efficiency, quality, and that's everything that we're looking for. And what's next? We've got a couple of things in the pipeline. There's a lot of focus on energy, making sure we've got the full i+ range complete, working perfectly. So there's a lot of time and energy, but we're not stood still. Yeah. We're always thinking of what next.
Yeah. And it's, you've got this, in terms of that benefit, you've got, time saved means more welds put in, which means a railway head put back into service, or a greater amount of renewal per moment that you have. Track access is a serious problem.
Absolutely.
One of the big problems on our railways. So we're talking about managing more within that access, which in turn, not only are you saving carbon because you're probably using less energy overall because you've got a smarter process, but also you've got more welds being done by all that driving miles to site. You've got a railway being put back into use, so you're saving carbon that way. So the way that this compounds, and again, I always enjoy these sessions because it's a chance to go supply chain. Hell, if you're building that case, you've got to think about that big picture. You're reducing the number of driver miles per weld. You're reducing all these other things that maybe you don't quite quantify.
The overall picture. And that's what this whole range is geared at. It's all geared at ultimately time saving, because it is what the customer needs. It's what the network rail operatives need on track. They need more time. If they've not got the time, the job doesn't go ahead, and then they've just got to come back and have a go another night. It's such a huge amount of wasted time, money, when they could be doing other things.
It's not 10 minutes from. It's not the time you've saved here isn't necessarily just explicit this time. It's the fact that you have a more, again, I imagine probably a more reliable weld. In fact, I know it is a more reliable weld, which means that you're more confident in what you can do within a shift, which means you're saving lots of time from drop shifts as well. So serious opportunities. Chris, that has been absolutely fantastic. Everyone, say thanks to Chris in the usual way. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Nice one. That was all right, Chris.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much.
Nice one.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. A delight. See you for the next session, or if you want to see sparks and explosions, you follow the Pandrol team back over. No explosions, only some exciting sparks. Nice one. Thanks, Chris.